When you're working with a relational database, how important it is to have accurate data, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, imagine a hospital, like making critical medical decisions,
Yeah.
life or death stuff,
Oh, wow.
based on data that's like flawed or incomplete.
Yeah.
That's actually how the authors of Actionable Intelligence kick off the book.
Mm.
And it really kind of drives home the point about how crucial it is to manage data properly, especially for someone like you who really gets the whole data integrity thing.
Yeah, I think it's such a powerful way to start because it's a problem that we see all the time, right?
Yeah.
Businesses have tons of data,
Yeah.
but they really struggle to actually get anything useful out of it.
Yeah, it's almost like they've got this massive library.
Exactly.
But there's no librarian to help them find the right book,
That's a great analogy.
So this book, Actionable Intelligence, really dives into this whole challenge head on.
Yeah.
And it offers this framework for bridging the gap between the technical side of data and like actual real world business decisions.
Uh-huh.
And I think given your background with databases, you're really going to find their approach interesting.
Yeah, I'm excited to dig in.
So like at its core, the book argues that just having a ton of data isn't enough, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
It has to be like transformed into something they call actionable intelligence.
We're right.
So, okay, let's unpack that a little bit. What exactly do they mean by actionable intelligence?
So think of it like this. You know how you're an expert at like structuring data in a database, crafting queries, and pulling out specific information.
Yeah.
Actionable intelligence takes those skills, but applies them to solving those like really big strategic business challenges.
Uh-huh.
It's about taking all that raw data you have, turning it into insights, and actually using those insights to make decisions and take action in the real world.
So it's not just about like having the data, but knowing the right questions to ask.
Right, exactly.
And then turning those answers into like a strategy for improvement or, for making better decisions.
Exactly. And the authors actually make a really good point about making sure that the information is easy to access and understand.
Okay.
So that decision makers at all levels can act quickly and confidently, based on facts, not just intuition.
Makes sense.
And this is actually where their SWAT framework comes into play.
SWAT framework. That sounds pretty intense.
It is, but in a good way. So like each letter in SWAT actually stands for a step in the process of turning data into that actionable intelligence we were talking about.
Okay.
And it all starts with S for strategic business questions.
So like before you even start collecting any data, you need to really understand like what business problem are you trying to solve, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
It's kind of like when you're writing a query in a database, right? You don't just pull out random information. You need to be super specific about what you're looking for and why.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you start with a strategic business question, and that helps keep your data efforts focused.
Exactly. And you'd be surprised how many companies just fall into the trap of collecting data just for the sake of it,
Right. Yeah.
And then they end up with these massive data warehouses that are basically data graveyards because nobody's using the information.
Right, it's just sitting there.
Exactly. So the S in SWAT is all about being focused from the very beginning.
Okay, so we've got the S for strategic questions. What's next?
So the W stands for wrangle data. And this is where things get really interesting.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me more.
So this goes beyond just like the technical part of collecting the data.
Okay.
This is about breaking down the data silos that might exist in an organization.
Yeah.
Creating a common business language that everyone understands and making sure that the data is actually accurate and of high quality.
Okay.
Think of it like this. In a relational database, you really carefully structure your data, right? To avoid redundancy, make sure it's consistent, all those best practices.
Yeah, you have your tables, your primary keys, foreign keys, all that stuff.
Exactly.
To keep the data like nice and clean.
Right. But imagine a huge company where each department is like its own separate database.
Mm-hmm.
You've got sales, marketing, finance. They all have their own data sets, and they might even use different terms for the same thing.
Oh, so it's like trying to join tables from different databases where the column names and the data types don't quite match up.
Exactly. That's a great analogy.
You're going to get errors, yeah.
Exactly. And the book actually tells this story about a shipment that was held up in customs for weeks.
Oh, no.
Because somebody entered women instead of the actual name of the product.
Wow.
And that one little data inconsistency, it ended up costing the company thousands of dollars.
Wow. That's a great example of how something that seems like a small data issue
Right.
can actually have a huge impact in the real world.
Exactly. So this whole idea of wrangling data is about making sure everyone's speaking the same data language and that the data itself is accurate and trustworthy.
So it's like applying those database principles of normalization and validation, but on like a much larger scale.
Exactly. You got it. And that actually sets the stage for the next step in the SWAT framework.
Okay, so we've defined the question, we've wrangled our data. What happens next?
Well, the A stands for answer with visualization. And this is where I think your database knowledge is going to come in really handy.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So think about how data is stored in a relational database, right? Rows, columns, relationships, all that good stuff.
Right.
Now imagine trying to make sense of all that raw data without any sort of visual representation.
Yeah, it'd be like trying to understand a complex database schema just by looking at the raw SQL code.
Exactly. So visualizations, they help us see patterns and trends and relationships in the data that we might not otherwise notice, right? It's about making the data come alive and tell a story. The authors actually quote Napoleon in the book. They say, a good sketch is better than a long speech.
So it's like you're taking that structured data and turning it into something that's really easy for decision makers to understand and get insights from.
Exactly. Just like a well-designed database schema makes data management more efficient, a good visualization makes data analysis way more effective. Think about the different kinds of charts and graphs you might use to represent data from a database, right?
Yeah, you've got your bar charts, your pie charts, your line graphs.
Exactly. And in the business world, choosing the right visualization can make a huge difference in how well people understand the data.
Yeah, if you tried to present like some complex sales data to a board of directors just using a spreadsheet,
Oh, yeah.
it would be overwhelming.
That would be a nightmare.
But a well-designed chart could show them those key trends really quickly and clearly.
Exactly. And the book actually highlights how important business discovery tools like, for example, QuView are becoming, because they let users interact with the data, see it from different angles, and uncover insights that they wouldn't be able to get from just, like, static reports.
So it's like they're becoming the visual interface for those massive data warehouses that we were talking about earlier.
Right.
Helping to unlock all that potential that's just sitting there in the data.
Exactly. And that brings us to the final letter in the SWAT framework, which is T for take action.
Okay.
And this is where it all comes together, right? Turning those insights into concrete steps.
So it's not enough to just have pretty charts and graphs.
No.
You have to actually use those insights to make decisions and take action.
Exactly. The book really emphasizes the importance of setting clear metrics, tracking results, and then constantly refining your approach based on what you learn.
So it's a continuous process of improvement.
Exactly. A cycle.
It sounds like the SWAT framework provides a really solid roadmap for moving from like data chaos to data-driven decision-making.
Absolutely. But it's important to remember that this isn't just an IT project, right?
Right. It requires a shift in the entire culture of an organization.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they talk about building what they call an intelligence culture, where data is seen as a valuable asset.
Yeah.
Not just something that the IT department handles. You know?
Right. So it's about getting everybody in the company on board with this data-driven approach.
Exactly.
So what does that actually look like in a practical sense?
Well, think about how important documentation is in a well-maintained database. You've got like clear naming conventions, data dictionaries, comments, all that stuff to make sure everybody understands what the data means and how it's structured.
Right. It's about making the database accessible and understandable to anyone who needs to use it.
Exactly. And an intelligence culture aims for the same thing, but on a much bigger scale, right? It's about creating an environment where the data is readily available, clearly defined, and trusted by everyone in the organization.
Okay.
Not just the technical folks. So instead of making decisions based on gut feelings or intuition, people are actually using data to back up their decisions.
Exactly. Decisions are based on facts.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And the book actually argues that these intelligence initiatives should be driven by business needs.
Okay.
Not just like what the IT department is capable of doing.
So it's about aligning those data efforts with the company's overall strategic goals.
Exactly.
Okay, but how do you actually get everyone on board with this kind of cultural shift? It seems like a pretty big undertaking.
It definitely can be, yeah. But the book actually gives some real-world examples of companies that have done this successfully.
Okay.
And one common theme that emerges is the importance of strong leadership from the top.
So it needs to be more than just an IT initiative.
Right. It can't just be like the IT department saying, hey, we need to do this.
Right.
It has to come from the executives.
Yeah, they need to be the champions for this.
Exactly. And the book suggests finding what they call a champion, someone who's really passionate about this idea, and who can drive the initiative forward.
Okay.
Ideally, this is someone who understands both the business side and the technical side of things.
So like almost like a project manager who can bridge the gap between the developers and the end users. Right?
That's a great analogy, yeah.
Making sure everybody's working towards the same goal.
Exactly. And the book also talks about the need for a skilled data team.
Okay.
And not just in terms of their technical skills, but also their communication skills.
So it's not enough to just be able to crunch the numbers.
Yeah.
You also have to be able to explain what those numbers mean to people who aren't data experts.
Exactly. You have to be able to tell a compelling story with the data.
Yeah.
Just like you might use comments and clear naming conventions to document a database.
Right.
These data professionals need to present their findings in a way that everyone can understand.
So it sounds like building this intelligence culture is a lot like good database management. It's about structure, clarity, and communication.
That's a great way to put it, yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about the importance of leadership, having a skilled data team. But what about challenges?
Oh, yeah, there are definite challenges.
What are some of the roadblocks that companies might run into when they're trying to implement this idea of actionable intelligence?
Well, one of the biggest ones is just resistance to change.
Yeah, people get comfortable with the way they've always done things.
Exactly, even if it's not the best way.
It's like trying to convince someone to switch from an old legacy database system to a newer, more efficient one.
Yeah, you're always going to get some pushback.
So how do you overcome that?
Well, the book talks about the need to create a sense of urgency around the need for actionable intelligence. You have to really highlight the benefits and address people's concerns head on.
So it's about showing them the value, right?
Exactly. Show them how this new way of doing things is actually going to make their lives easier and their work better.
Right.
And the book suggests starting small, focusing on quick wins to build momentum and show people that this is actually working.
So you're building trust in the process.
Exactly.
And showing them that this isn't just another management fad.
Right. This is something that's actually going to make a difference.
Okay, so resistance to change is one challenge.
Okay.
What other challenges does the book talk about?
Well, another big one is the issue of data silos, which we touched on a little bit earlier.
Right, that's where different departments are like separate databases, and they can't easily share information.
Exactly. And the book really stresses the importance of breaking down those silos.
Okay.
So you can get a holistic view of the business.
So it's like the difference between querying a single table versus joining multiple tables to get a more complete picture.
Exactly.
And like you said before, if those tables aren't structured properly, that joint operation can be a nightmare.
Yeah, you'll end up with inaccurate or incomplete results.
So how do you go about breaking down those data silos?
Well, it often involves rethinking roles and responsibilities.
Okay.
Establishing clear data governance policies. And, most importantly, fostering a culture of data sharing and collaboration.
So it's about moving away from that data ownership mentality.
Right.
And realizing that data is most valuable when it's shared and used across the entire organization.
Exactly. And the book actually provides some good examples of companies that have done this successfully. And it often involves a combination of things like executive sponsorship, cross-functional teams, and clear data governance councils.
So you need the right people, processes, and technologies in place to support a more integrated data environment.
That's it.
Okay, so breaking down silos is important. And then, of course, there's the issue of data quality.
Oh, absolutely. You can have the most sophisticated analytics tools in the world.
Right.
But if your data is garbage, your insights are going to be garbage too.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly.
It's like building a complex query on top of a table that's full of corrupt data. You might get results.
Right.
But you can't trust them.
Exactly. And the book emphasizes the need for data cleansing, validation, and enrichment processes to make sure the data is accurate and reliable.
So it's like applying those database principles of data integrity and validation rules, but on a much larger scale to ensure data quality across the entire organization.
You got it.
Okay, so we've got data quality, we've got silos, we've got resistance to change. What are the people who are actually going to be working with this data?
Right. That's another big challenge, the need for specialized skills and expertise.
Yeah, because this whole actionable intelligence thing requires more than just traditional data management skills, right?
Exactly. It's not just about knowing how to build and maintain databases. It's about understanding the business, asking the right questions, and knowing how to use data to solve real-world problems.
So it's like the difference between a database administrator who focuses on keeping the system running smoothly,
Right.
and a data analyst who can actually extract insights from that data.
Exactly. That's a perfect analogy. And the book actually refers to this as data literacy,
Okay.
which is basically the ability to understand and work with data effectively, even if you're not a data scientist.
So it's about empowering people at all levels of the organization to become more comfortable with data.
Exactly.
And to use it in their day-to-day work.
Exactly. And the book gives some really good examples of how companies have implemented data literacy programs. They talk about using things like gamification, data storytelling, and hands-on workshops to engage employees and help them build those data skills.
So they're making it fun and engaging.
Exactly.
Which is important because learning about data can be pretty dry sometimes.
Yeah, it can be, but it doesn't have to be.
Okay, so we've talked about the people side of things. What about the technology?
Right, so technology obviously plays a key role in all of this.
What kind of technological infrastructure do you need to support actionable intelligence?
Well, the good news is that business intelligence tools have gotten a lot better in recent years. They're much more user-friendly and accessible than they used to be.
So we're moving away from those really complex IT-centric systems
Exactly.
and towards tools that empower business users to explore the data on their own.
That's the goal.
It's like the evolution of database management systems.
Hmm.
You know, we used to have those command line interfaces that were really intimidating for anyone who wasn't a technical expert.
Right.
But now we have these graphical user interfaces that make it much easier for anyone to work with data.
Exactly. And the book talks about tools like ClickView, which we mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
as well as other data visualization and business discovery platforms that allow users to interact with data in a much more intuitive way.
So instead of relying on the IT department to generate reports for them,
Yeah.
business users can actually explore the data themselves,
Right.
ask their own questions,
Exactly.
and uncover insights that are relevant to their specific needs.
That's exactly it. And the book also talks about the rise of cloud-based analytics platforms, which offer a lot of advantages in terms of flexibility, scalability, and affordability.
So instead of investing in all that expensive on-premise hardware and software,
Right.
companies can just leverage the cloud to get the tools and resources they need.
Exactly. And cloud-based platforms make it a lot easier for smaller businesses to get started with actionable intelligence.
That makes sense.
But with all this data being collected and analyzed, we can't forget about security and privacy.
Right. That's super important.
Absolutely.
In the database world, we have all sorts of security measures in place to protect sensitive information.
Exactly. And the same principle applies to actionable intelligence.
Right.
The book stresses the need for strong security measures, clear data governance policies, and compliance with all the relevant regulations.
So it's about making sure the data is used responsibly and ethically.
Exactly. And that involves striking a balance between data accessibility and data protection.
Right.
We want to make the data available to the people who need it. But we also need to make sure we're safeguarding sensitive information.
Absolutely. So we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah.
We've talked about the challenges of resistance to change, data silos, data quality, the need for data literacy, and the importance of technology and security.
Yeah, we've hit all the major points.
But let's step back for a second and think about the bigger picture here.
Okay.
Why is this whole idea of actionable intelligence so important for businesses today?
Well, the book makes a really compelling case for the power of data-driven decision-making. They argue that it can lead to better decisions, increased efficiency, improved customer experiences, and ultimately, greater business success.
So it's about moving beyond those gut feelings
Right.
and using data as a solid foundation for making strategic choices.
Exactly. And the book gives some really great examples of this across different industries.
Okay.
You've got retailers using data to personalize customer experiences,
Yeah.
manufacturers optimizing their production processes,
Yeah.
healthcare providers improving patient outcomes, all through the power of data.
So it's about turning data into a strategic asset
Exactly.
that can drive innovation and create a competitive advantage.
Exactly. But as we've been discussing, it's not just about the technology.
Right.
It's about creating a data-driven culture within the organization.
Yeah, it's about getting everyone on the same page.
Right. The book highlights how a data-driven culture can empower everyone in the company
Yeah.
to use data to solve problems and make better decisions.
So it's about moving beyond data as just a buzzword.
Right. It's got to be more than just a buzzword.
And actually embedding it into the DNA of the company.
Exactly. It's about changing the mindset from data is something that IT handles to data is everyone's responsibility. And it's a valuable resource for all of us.
Right. It's about democratizing data.
Exactly.
And I think this book, Actionable Intelligence, provides a really practical roadmap for how to do that.
I agree. It's full of practical advice, real-world examples, and thought-provoking insights.
And what's interesting is that the book focuses mainly on business applications, which makes sense given its target audience.
Right. It's written for business leaders.
But I was thinking that these principles of actionable intelligence, they could apply to like personal life too, right?
Absolutely.
Like if someone's already comfortable with relational databases, they could totally apply these concepts to their own data.
Yeah.
I mean, we generate so much data these days, from fitness trackers to our online spending habits.
It's crazy how much data we generate.
It is. So could we wrangle that data and analyze it to get insights about ourselves?
Yeah, it's actually pretty fascinating how these principles can be applied to almost any area of life. We're just surrounded by data.
Yeah.
Like, imagine applying the SWAT framework to your personal finances.
Okay, I'm listening. Walk me through it.
So you can start with a strategic question, like, how can I optimize my spending and saving?
Okay.
Then you could wrangle all the data from your bank statements, credit card bills, budgeting apps.
Yeah.
And if you visualize that data, you might see spending patterns that you weren't even aware of before. And then, based on those insights, you can take action, like maybe adjust your budget or look into different investment opportunities.
So it's like having your own personal business intelligence system for your life.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
And it goes beyond just finances too, right?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Like think about health and fitness. You could use data from your fitness tracker, your sleep app, even your food diary.
Yeah, all of that.
To figure out areas where you could improve.
Exactly.
So like with a little analysis, I could see if my sleep patterns are messing with my workouts or if certain foods are making me feel sluggish.
Right.
It's like personalizing self-improvement.
Exactly. And the best part is that the tools for doing this are getting easier and easier to use.
Yeah.
There are tons of apps and platforms out there that can help you collect, analyze, and visualize your personal data.
So this whole idea of actionable intelligence, it's not just for big companies.
No, not at all.
It's a way of thinking that can help anyone make smarter decisions in all areas of their life.
Exactly.
It's about taking those skills and principles from data management and applying them to our everyday lives.
Yeah, it's about becoming more aware of the data we generate and using it to our advantage.
This has been such a fascinating deep dive into the world of data and how it can be transformed into a tool for making smarter decisions.
I agree. It's been a great conversation.
Whether you're managing a global supply chain or just trying to figure out how to save a little extra money each month.
Great.
The principles we've talked about today are super valuable.
Absolutely.
We're living in a data-driven world, and it's not just about having the data. It's about knowing what questions to ask, how to extract meaningful insights from that data, and most importantly, how to turn those insights into action.
Exactly. It's all about action.
This book, Actionable Intelligence, it really gives you a practical roadmap for navigating this data-rich world. And it shows you how to harness the power of data to achieve your goals, whatever those goals may be.
I think anyone who's interested in becoming more data-driven should definitely check it out.
And on that note, a huge thank you to our expert for guiding us through this deep dive.
It's been my pleasure.
And to our listeners, we encourage you to explore Actionable Intelligence further.
Yeah, you won't regret it.
It's a book that can change the way you think about data and its role in your life, both professionally and personally.
Absolutely.
Until next time, keep diving deep.